Hey guys, so welcome back. Today we are going to be focusing on standard 4.OA.3, where we're going to be looking at multi-step word problems and even using letters to represent different numbers within expressions. So in order to do this, I'm bringing back our buzzwords. And buzzwords are really supposed to help us be able to solve the problem and to figure out the operations that we're going to use to solve. And buzzwords are going to be very, very important in this standard because it's going to let us know how many steps we're going to need to do in order to solve our problem. So let's get right into number one so you can see what I mean. So let's look at our first word problem. It says Miss Turner bought pencils for the 4th grade students. She has 12 bags with 3 pencils in each bag, and she has 7 bags with 6 pencils in each bag. She gives each student in her class 3 pencils. How many students did Miss Turner give pencils to? So I'm going to reread this word problem, this time focusing on those buzzwords that I can pull out. So Miss Turner bought pencils for the 4th grade students. She has 12 bags with 3 pencils in each bag. So I see that word each. So if I look at my buzzwords, I know that each can mean division, but it can also mean multiplication. And even though it's not written in this box, it absolutely can mean multiplication as well. And she has 7 bags with 6 pencils in each bag. She gives each student, there goes another each, in her class 3 pencils. How many students did Miss Turner give pencils to? So scholars, I know that we need to figure out how many pencils Miss Turner has altogether in order to figure out how many students Miss Turner is giving pencils to. In order to do that, I need to figure out what operation I'm going to need to perform in this first line. She has 12 bags with 3 pencils in each bag. That means that in each of those bags, there's 3 pencils. I need to figure out the total. So I know that I'm going to need to multiply 12 by 3. The same thing for the next sentence. And she has 7 bags with 6 pencils in each bag. So that buzzword each there tells me I'm multiplying again because I need to figure out how many pencils she has in all of those 7 bags. So I'm multiplying here 7 times 6. I know that 7 times 6 equals 42 and 12 times 3 equals 36. So now that I know how many pencils she has in the 12 bags and the 7 bags, I'm going to need to add them together to figure out my total. I need to find my total now. So I'm going to be adding 36 plus 42. I know that 6 plus 2 is 8. And I know that 3 plus 4 is 7. So I know that in total, Miss Turner bought 78 pencils. But that's not what the problem's asking me to solve. The problem wants me to figure out if she gives 3 pencils to each student in her class, how many students did Miss Turner give pencils to? So in that sentence, I see the buzzword each. And I know that in that sentence, I'm going to be relying heavily on my division in order to solve because she has 78 pencils and each student is getting 3 pencils. So that means I'm breaking apart 78 into 3 groups. So now I'm going to divide, multiply, and subtract. Bring it on down and bring it on back. Divide. 3 goes into 7 2 times. Multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1. Bring it on down and bring it on back. Divide. 3 goes into 18. 6 times. Multiply. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract. 18 minus 18 is 0. I have nothing else to bring down or bring back, so I have figured out my quotient. I have also figured out how many students Miss Turner is giving pencils to. Miss Turner gives 26 students pencils. So the answer to number 1 would be 26. Let's use buzzwords to solve number 2. It says 3 classes are combining to do a talent show. The first class has 21 students. The second class has 25 students, and the third has 18 students. If the students will then be split into 4 singing groups, how many students will be in each of the groups? So I'm looking through this word problem and I see a couple buzzwords already jumping out at me. The first one being combining. I know that when I'm combining something, I'm adding it together. So I know that I'm going to be adding somewhere in this word problem. I also see the buzzword split into 4 groups. When I'm splitting something into groups, that means I'm dividing. So I know that I have 2 different operations that I'm going to be performing here. So I know that this is in fact a multi-step word problem. So let's get busy solving this problem utilizing those buzzwords in order to find our answer. So 3 classes are being combined to do a talent show. The first class has 21 students, the second class has 25 students, and the third has 18 students. Because I'm combining this, I'm using the operation addition. So I'm adding 1 plus 5 plus 8. Well, 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 8 is 14. 2 plus 2 plus 1, which is 5, plus 1 is 6. So there are 64 students altogether in all 3 of those classes, but that's not what the problem is asking me to solve. The problem says if the students were then split into 4 singing groups, how many students will be in each of those groups? So I know that I have 64 students, and I'm splitting those students into 4 groups, so I have to divide. Divide, multiply, and subtract. Bring it on down and bring it on back. Divide, 4 goes into 6 one time. Multiply, 4 times 1 is 4. Subtract, 6 minus 4 is 2. Bring it on down and bring it on back. Divide, 4 goes into 24 6 times. Multiply, 4 times 6 is 24. Subtract, 24 minus 24 is 0. Nothing to bring down, nothing else to bring back. So I know that there will be 16 students in each group. I did this by combining to figure out how many students I had in all and then splitting them into 4 singing groups to get 16. So how many students will be in each of the groups? There will be 16 students in each group. Let's continue using buzzwords to solve our last word problem. It says Mr. Johnson is making lunches for the field trip. He made 2,480 lunches and packed them into 8 boxes. If each box held the same amount of lunches, how many lunches were in each box? So in this word problem, I see the word each multiple times. And I know that each can mean multiplication, but it can also mean division. So looking at this word problem, he made 2,480 lunches, and he is packing them into 8 boxes. So if he's packing a total into 8 boxes, that means that he's going to have to separate them and break them into groups. So I know that I'm going to be dividing. So I know that my number sentence or my equation should read as 2,480 divided by 8. If I set this up as a long division problem or as an algorithm, I'm going to need to do the same steps that I have done previously. Divide, multiply, and subtract. Bring it on down and bring it on back. Divide. 8 goes into 24. Well, it goes in 3 times. Multiply, 8 times 3 is 24. Subtract, 24 minus 24 is 0. Bring it on down and bring it on back. Divide, 8 goes into 8 one time. Multiply, 8 times 1 is 8. Subtract, 8 minus 0 is 8 minus 8 is 0. Bring it on down and bring it on back. Divide, 8 goes into 0. 0 times. Multiply, 8 times 0 is 0. Subtract, 0 minus 0 is 0. Nothing else to bring down, nothing else to bring back. How many lunches were in each box? There were 310 lunches in each box. I did this by looking for my buzzwords to help me determine the operation that I was going to use to perform. Now, scholars, We also are going to use buzzwords in order to rewrite expressions using letters to represent quantities. So what I mean by that is we're going to be using these buzzwords to figure out how we can rewrite words using numbers. So let's look at our expression in written form. So it says the sum of 7 and the product of C and 4. So I see some buzzwords already jumping out at me. I see sum and I see product. If I look at my buzzwords, I know that sum falls under the addition category. I also know that product falls under the multiplication category. So I know that I'm going to be adding and I'm going to be multiplying. So the sum of 7. So that means I'm going to be adding 7 and the product of C and 4. So that means I'm going to be multiplying C and 4. Make sure you're adding in your parentheses in order to make sure that you're grouping based off of the operations. So the sum of 7 and the product of C and 4 can also be rewritten as 7 plus C times 4. Scholars, I did this by utilizing these buzzwords in order to determine where to place the operations in my written expression. So scholars, today we